to 6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here to introduce you to a new attachment, the Precision Manufacturing 535 tree puller. This is a set of jaws for the front of a piece of equipment that's going to allow you to manipulate things in a little different way. I'm going to show you around this one here today and talk about some of the different things it can do. The idea of a jaw for the front of your tractor, skid steer, track loader, whatever it is that you have, is not a new idea. I've seen a lot of these made by several different companies before. Many of them are generally pretty mechanically simplistic, right? You got a cylinder to close a jaw that allows you to pinch and grab and pull things in ways that you wouldn't be able to with buckets or pallet forks or whatever, right? It gives you that opposable thumb that allows you to do a lot of interesting kinds of work that you can't do with a lot of your traditional buckets that you'd have on the front of your machine. There are a handful of things about this model from Precision that I thought were interesting ideas that kind of took this concept a little bit further than what some other companies have done with this idea in the past. Mechanically here, this thing is very simple. There's only one moving part, and it's this half of the jaw. Underneath this shield right here is a large 4-inch cylinder that's going to create a lot of clamping force in order to grab things in this jaw and hold on to them. There's some things about this jaw that are a little unique. This one does have teeth on both sides. That's not something that you see from all pullers like this. Some of them will be flat on one side and not serrated in quite the same way. When this thing closes, these teeth do line up, and so if you're grabbing a smaller piece of material, it can really crunch it and hold it tightly inside of these jaws with the interlocking teeth. I found that a lot when I was pulling out some small trees and stuff. With the clamping force of this thing and about a 3 or 4 inch tree, my goodness, I could grab that and nearly look like I had the jaw closed and really had a hold of that thing tight. If you look at the design of this, all of this comes down to a taper and a point down here at the bottom. That allows you to penetrate the ground. So if you were trying to get down and grab roots out from underground to break up a root ball, it allows you to push down and penetrate and pry with this thing. It's kind of in the same way that you would do with a stump bucket almost, but doing it with something like this just has a lot more iron in it. If you look at this steel is really, really thick. So it gives you a nice tool to be able to get down into places that you wouldn't be able to get a traditional bucket. Another unique feature found on this model is the serration here that you see along the edge of the blade. This allows you to actually cut and saw into something that you may not be able to grab and pull. If you're dealing with a tree that has, say, a deep taproot to it and your machine's not able to get it up out of the ground, you're not necessarily done at that point. You could take the edge of this over here and use your machine to saw it back and forth, hopefully getting into the tree enough to the point that you can weaken it and then push it over. Now, anytime that you're working with something like this, you do want to keep kind of your traditional tree cutting stuff in mind. You know, take a look before you start manipulating something or sawing at it and gauge what direction that tree is going to fall in, and make sure you're working with it and manipulating it in a way that allows it to go that direction, because your ability to move out of the way or your sight lines to watch what's happening are definitely limited when using an implement like this. You can't miss the sizable guard that's on the top of this thing, and this has more functions than you might think. At first when you look at this, you'd say, hey, this is a catch guard to keep things from falling back into you, but it really has more purposes than that. A lot of times when you're going to use a puller like this, you may also want it for things like bushes or cedar trees, stuff that has low limbs and stuff down at the ground. And without this guard here, when you take a piece of equipment and drive into that tree in order to grab it and pull it out, you may have limbs and that kind of stuff that are back scratching against your loader arms or scratching against the machine. So this guard certainly could provide some protection against things falling back towards you. It is really, really stout, but this mesh screen and the width of this thing also provides some of that protection to your equipment, allowing you to get in up against things in order to pinch them in the jaws. Hydraulic hose management on attachments like this is one of those things that's easily overlooked. When it's done poorly is a pain, and when it's done well is something that you can appreciate. Precision actually manufactures a little adapter on here they call Tame It, and it's this metal spring right here with a bracket at the top that holds your hydraulic hoses up and out of the way and allows this spring to flex to allow them to move a little bit. So you see the way that this thing is positioned right here. I can have enough hose length here to easily be able to rotate my attachment the full distance forward and back, but have it held up out of the pinch point here so that I don't catch a hose down here in a pinch area and sever it. So I'm gonna give you a quick visual here of how this works. Now this is not the biggest and baddest tree out here. This is an area where we come to demo attachments, and unfortunately we've been cutting a lot of stuff down out here lately. So I'm picking something small just because we're running out of trees. So I'm gonna roll this front here and put my push guard up against the tree. That's the kind to keep it from coming back towards me, and just give it a little bit of push forward, and then take the puller here and close those jaws in order to grab it. Now, when I bring this up, you see it squats the front of the machine a little bit, and I can look right down here and start to see the stump coming up out of the ground. And as I bring that up and out, I'm gonna go forward at the same time. And I can hear the roots breaking. Pop the jaw open there and let it go. Now when that came down, that gave me a little bit of a scare, right? Because it kept the hold of the machine a little bit. Now that that's out of the ground, now I can take the point of this thing and come down here underneath of it and almost use it as a stump bucket, right? We can close the jaws, come down underneath of it, and just push the remainder of the roots right up and out of the ground. And you'll see there, by pushing it out like this and being able to grab it, I can also get it nice and clean. If you dig root balls and stuff out like this with an excavator, you'll often get a lot of dirt and stuff left on the bottom. If you're gonna go and try to burn these stumps or whatever, this is gonna be a lot cleaner. There's a lot less crud on the bottom of the stump here and dirt to make it hard to burn. So that's a little bit on the Precision Manufacturing tree puller. This is a cool line from a cool company that makes a lot of really innovative and thoughtful products. We're excited to have this as part of the suite of tools that we can offer. If you're interested in one of these things, give us a call. We're happy to be able to hook one up and ship one out to you. As far as the equipment that this belongs on, obviously is something of this size, you probably look at it and think that it's a skid steer track loader type attachment. I would agree with you, that's right, but there's nothing stopping you from putting it onto a small tractor as well. So this is probably appropriate on a machine from about 12 or 1,500 pounds of lift capacity on up. You know, you're gonna want that 3,000 to 4,000 pound tractor or piece of equipment and bigger in order to really be able to put something of this size to use. So if you have questions and we could talk through your machinery, see that this is right for you, give us a call. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messiks.com.